If you are trying to figure out where God is placing you next, if you're coming out of a storm or a situation or a season of your life where you are in transition, this message is for you. Maybe you're coming out of sickness and you're trying to get back into the workplace. I am. Maybe you are trying to figure out how you are going to take this next leap of faith into entrepreneurship or small business. Maybe you're trying to figure out, I'm leaving one job for another and I don't know how this transition is going to be. Maybe you're like, maybe I want to go back to school, but I don't know about this transition. Look, seasons change, but you don't have to go through transition alone. And so today I just want to share my heart. I want to talk about my transition story and how I even got to where I am and where I believe God is going to take me next. To be real, I want to start with 3 years ago, because 3 years ago, my life changed as I kind of knew it in so many different ways. If you don't know me, I've served in ministry for the last 11 years. I've worked in ministry at 2 churches, and I probably consulted for at least 15 over the last years, years and years and years. And one thing that I know for sure is that I'm called to ministry. I'm called to minister. I'm called to preach and teach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I've never really had to question that. I've always kind of just known that within me, that this is what God wants me to do. But my path has been so different. It's been filled with transitions. 3 years ago, I left my full-time ministry job. I moved back home and I didn't know what to do. It was a fresh start. Let me tell you, if you are literally in that situation, maybe you got fired, you got laid off, or maybe you just left because it was too toxic, or maybe you just like, I need something different. God is leading me somewhere else. Look, stay here. This may be for you. I left there and I came back home. I really didn't know what I was going to do. In the process of my transition, a couple of months before leaving, I had sought out a job at a tech company. And honestly, when I came back, it had been like 4 or 5 months since I had heard from the tech company. And I was like, I didn't even think that, like, I thought, my application and my interviews that I sat there and did were useless because they didn't accept me, right? And I come back here and know that I'm still interviewing at other churches during this transition. So I'm only expecting them to be home for a shorter period of time because literally I'm expecting something to happen, right? So I come back home and it was like every job I had applied for in ministry, God either closed the door on me or had me close the door, right? And so I was speaking with multiple pastors at the time. And one thing about me in ministry is I don't really settle. At that time, I really wanted to be positioned somewhere else in ministry, but I also knew that I didn't want to just end up just anywhere, right? So I get a call from the tech company and they're like, hey, are you still interested? First of all, I was like, yeah. They were like, hey, we want to offer you the job. Now, this kind of came out of the middle of nowhere because, like I said, I hadn't heard from them at all in months. And out of the middle of nowhere, I get the call. So I take the job and I stay there for about a year. And all of a sudden I end up getting sick. I have a lung collapse and I've kind of dealt with health issues my whole life. So I'm pretty used to it. So had the lung collapse, ended up being in the hospital for 2 weeks because they couldn't get the lung to stay up. They pumped it up. It was like, come right back down. And so they had to keep me in the hospital until the lung got up, stayed up. And then, they took me out of the hospital. I was literally in the hospital for Christmas and almost a couple weeks before my birthday, right? And that was hard. So I literally had to just kind of walk through that. That was my first experience of transition, not only just coming back here, working at that tech company for a year, but then getting sick and then having to make another transition, because then I had to decide what I was going to do, if I was going to stay at the tech company or was the God leading me somewhere else, because I had always been in ministry. And they loved me at the tech company and everything. And they were like, man, we could really see you staying here. But they also knew I was in ministry. And so they were like, we can understand if you go somewhere else, right? And God had laid on my heart to start a ministry. So I started a ministry, also in a small business. And so I started a branding agency, started doing ministry stuff. And every 2 or 3 months, I would have these crazy episodes where I would just have pain kind of shoot up to my heart. And that put me in the ER. And they admitted me a couple times for this and just to check me out, make sure I was good. But every time they ran tests, everything would come back fine. They would do blood work, everything would come back fine. MRI, CT scans, you name it, x-rays, fine. So they would just send me home. But these episodes kept happening throughout the year. And I would just go back to work. So I would, like, these episodes would happen. I would, they do whatever they do. And then I go back to work. And until this one episode came that shut my body down completely. Literally, I could barely get out of the bed. I could barely move. This episode was very, very hard. I went back to the doctor and they could not figure out what was wrong. My primary care then sent me off to a couple of different specialists, and they were just like, everybody was like, we didn't done x-rays, MRIs. They kept redoing them at these different specialty offices just to figure out, it could it be this, could it be that. They're trying to rule out at this point because nobody knows what's happening. I went to see a genetics counselor just to make sure that I didn't, inherit anything genetically that could be wrong with me through my family kind of lineage and things of the sort. But everything was coming back normal. Everything that my family has, I don't have. It's actually kind of crazy. That kind of goes through my family line. And it kept coming back normal. So they were like, well, there's only one more genetic test that you can take, but it's not a certain test. In that it's not like got 100% positively that it could be this, right? But they were like, you can take it. It's out of pocket test and not covered by insurance because it's kind of still in that testing round, I guess you could kind of say. And so they were like, it could work, it could not work, but you're more than willing to try it to see. And one thing kind of came back a little bit abnormal, I should say, with my genes. But the thing was, it wasn't anything that they said would be like notable, like where my body would react to it necessarily, or they don't have enough research to be able to determine what the outcome with that specific issue, how it would affect my body, right? So they were like, that. So I went to all of these specialists, and finally I went to a gastro doctor, and he finally told me within 5 minutes of the call, he said, I don't think your issue is like a internal stomach issue or anything like that. I think your issue is you have a condition that's a musculoskeletal condition called myofascial pain syndrome. And he basically told me from there, he said, hey, I'm going to send you off to a pain management clinic. This is basically what they're going to do, ABC. And I was like, okay. So I'm thinking I'm getting to a resolution. I get to the pain management clinic. She's like, hold up. You have scoliosis. You have had spinal issues. We need to rule this out first. None of the doctors have really looked at my spinal issues because they didn't see a change or a shift in anything since I was diagnosed with scoliosis at like 14 up until now. And so since it wasn't really they didn't look into it in depth, but this doctor said, let's look into it. We did. There were no changes to my spine. But she was able to conclude that my issues are coming, or the issue that I have now, is myofascial pain syndrome, is a musculoskeletal issue, but it also is rooted in my scoliosis being untreated for so long. So since my scoliosis went 10 years without being treated, I'm here I am. So she tells me all of this, and no, all of this is through transition. Now I forgot to mention this part. Through all of this transition, I literally also transitioned out of my relationship. So the person I was with, the woman that I was with for like 6 years, that was another. It was literally life as I knew it completely changed. And so that was another transition that I had to make. All of these transitions within transitions, I was like, God, I feel like I'm just spiraling at this point. But I was like, God, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you. And I literally was in the house. I was homebound for like 8 months. I didn't go nowhere but to the doctor's appointments. Probably didn't even feel like I could, because if I turned the wrong way, I had pain, right? So I began doing treatments, physical therapy, pain injections, things of the sort. I'm still doing those things. I kind of have to continue to do those things so that I don't get progressively worse. But I'm much better now through this transition. But now I'm at another transition point. And I'm sorry it took me 11 minutes to get to this, but I promise I'm like 10 more to go. But now I'm at this other transition point, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'm good enough, I feel, where in the next 3 to 4 months, I can go back to work. I can do something. I don't want to run my business anymore. I love helping churches. I'll still, consult and help small churches. But I really feel this push that's like, you're ready to go back into full-time ministry. Why? What are you doing? Right? And so I'm in this transition moment now where I feel like God is taking me back into full-time ministry. And I'm caught in the middle of, is my body ready for this? And I know, God, you're calling me to this, but what needs to be done? What do I do? And so I'm literally being forced into something that God wants me to do, although I'm not even sure if I'm prepared for it. But what I'm really, really just kind of leaning on God for is, I know this is what I was born to do. Like, I know this is what I was created to do. I love online ministry. I love y'all. Be real, I love y'all. And that's the reason why it took me a while to get some more videos back up here. But God, are you calling me back? Are you saying that I'm ready? I've had 3 opportunities come up. And I don't even know if I should pursue. But the beautiful thing that I've learned throughout this season, and this is where you start taking notes. This is important, y'all. The beautiful thing that I learned throughout this season is to not make an impulsive decision. I'm reminded of Genesis chapter 25, where Esau sells his birthright to his brother Jacob out of an impulsive decision. It wasn't that Esau didn't realize the value of what he had. If he didn't realize the value, he wouldn't have traded it, right? He wouldn't have sold it. He wouldn't have traded it with the plate of food for his brother. He realized what he had was of worth, even if he didn't realize how much worth it was. He realized it was of worth enough to trade it. But he trades it off of an impulsive decision. And what I have learned in this season is that no more impulsive decisions, because things take time. When God created the heavens and the earth, he did it in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. He didn't do it because he needed time. He did it to teach us time and patience. He did it to teach us that everything takes a process. He did it to say, I didn't just create this off a whim. I didn't just do this off an impulse, but I was intentional. And I feel like sometimes we make decisions without intentionality, and what happens is it comes across that you did it quickly, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't come across as excellence. It also doesn't come across to the person that you did it quickly for them to see your value. It actually decreases your value because then the question becomes, did you do it in excellence? Did you do it at the quality in which you knew you could? But instead you chose to take less time. So it helped me to understand that, Ezekiel, you can't waste your seasons. You can't waste your next. You cannot waste where you're going. And you cannot, watch this, allow people to waste it either. Because at the moment that you don't value your time, your effort, your worth is the mere moment that people will begin to see, if you don't value it, why should I? And sometimes we are so quick to want to get something done that we don't get on God's movement. God's movement has a rhythm and has a pattern, but God's movement more intentionally says that you move when I say move. You go when I say go. And I don't care who doesn't like it. I don't care who doesn't understand it. I don't care who you are around me that doesn't get it. It's okay, because God does not move at the pace in which we move. And a lot of times we're trying to understand it all. No, we don't need to understand God. We just need to be able to obey God. You just need to be able to follow God. And don't try to put yourself in a position where somebody tries to push you or pressure you or force you into to moving at a pace in which they want you to move. No, you tell them, hey, I can only move at this pace because I value my time. I value my worth. I value what I have to offer. And I know that if you want what I have to give you, then you got to value it too. You got to see it too. And I don't know who this is for, but sometimes you don't feel adequate enough. You don't feel worthy enough. You don't feel prepared enough. You don't feel. Here's what it comes down to. If you ever, and this goes for small business, Christian kingdom business owners, look, you know what I've always said, and this is just now I see it even more, having this time with God and just in this in between of transition. What I have learned that I wish I had known when I started these businesses and when I started ministry is, if they don't value you, everybody's like, oh, can you do this for free for X amount of time so I can see how well you do? Or can you give me a discount for this amount of time because I can see how this is going to work for us? Can we get a trial on this first? No, there's no 14-day trial. There's no free time. There's no. If you want to know how well I've done, check my resume. Check my website. Go look at my portfolio. This is to see what I've done for others, but I don't need to spend any more free time on you. And I know this may sound arrogant, but no, this is confidence, people. You have to have confidence, not in yourself, but in the God who put a gift inside of you, who is faithful to perform it until the end of age. So even though the gift may be, I'm not saying you just got the gift yesterday, you need to, no, what I'm saying is, if you've nurtured the gift, if you have developed the gift, if you have spent time working on the gift, I promise you, you don't have to go through half of what you're going through with these people and these clients and these customers and these people in your family around you and your friends. You don't have to justify. You don't have to solidify. You don't have to defend your position if it's God who is leading you. And so if they can't see that, you don't know. You say, hey, check my references, check the work that I've done. I've got it displayed on my website. If they still don't want it, if they still don't trust that you can do it, let it be. Move on to somebody, because 9 times out of 10, when you begin working for them, and even when as the process goes on until completion, they still won't see the value. Stick around for people who see the value that God put on the inside of you, the gift that God put on the inside of you, and start looking at yourself and seeing yourself that way. Through transition, do not make the impulsive decision. I don't know who this is for, but do not make that impulsive decision that you were just about to make to try to get through, because sometimes we do that too. No, God has a way that's specifically for you. He says, I am the way, not I make the way, not I guide you just along the way. No, he says, I am the way. Which means he is the designer. He's the architect. He is the beta tester. He is the one that from the start to completion gets you through the way. And so no matter what transition you're in, I'm over time. No matter what transition you're in, I want you to know that God is not a God. I don't know how many times I got to say this, y'all. God is not a God that is putting you through all these transitions for nothing. But don't give away your birthright. Do not give away your birthright. Do not give away your birthright. Don't do it. Out of satisfaction for other people's needs. Realize not only what you have, but the value of what God has put on the inside of you. And it's not worth what you're going to get in return. It's not. I'm in transition. And I don't know what the future holds, but I know who holds my future. And I really feel this urge and this call that God is saying to me, Ezekiel, it's time. It's scary, y'all. It is scary. And I love y'all. I do. I really do. I do. I love y'all, man. But God has me coming out of I'm just going to say God has me coming out of and into. I don't know what's next, but I feel in my spirit that this may be the time. I keep hearing that song that's like, I wasn't made to be tending in the grave. I was made for more. Y'all, if you're in transition or you know somebody in transition, I'm not advertising nothing. I'm not giving you nothing. Hey, send this to somebody who is in transition. They need to hear this. This message is for them. If you're in transition, leave it down in the comments below. Just put I'm in transition so I can pray for you. I want to pray for you. When I pray my prayers, I want to pray for you that God will lead, guide, and direct your path. Yeah, I love each and every one of y'all with the love of God. I'm Ezekiel Taylor. Look, Jesus loves you. I do too. And ain't nothing you can do about it. Until next time, Godspeed.